to this first edition of Foundation Focus for the 2013-2014 school year. We'll, again, this year hit on some of the most important parts of the mechanisms that help and support our students' success within the education system here in St. Lucie County. Speaking of it being our first edition, my first guest is Mary Hofstetter, the Director of the Early Childhood, focusing on pre-K and to third grade students. Mary, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
It's great to have you here. We worked together last year on a couple of projects. I guess I'm going to ask, my first question is, why early childhood learning? You and I are here today. We didn't really have an early childhood learning program. How is that helping our students of the future?
I can definitely talk about that, and I will kind of play devil's advocate here. I think you and I probably did have a early childhood program, although it wasn't labeled as such, and we didn't go to a classroom. I was the beneficiary of having 2 teachers as parents and 5 brothers and sisters, and we were read to frequently. We had the opportunity to talk a lot, and that's really what it's all about. Early childhood, it's very clear that even by age 9 months, students or children who live in high poverty areas are significantly behind their more economically advantaged peers. And so by the time they get to kindergarten, it sounds silly, but we have already maybe a 3 or 4 year discrepancy in achievement level when they get into kindergarten. So in addition to that, research shows that about 85% of our brain is developed by the time we're 5 years old. And that's just a critical learning time to really develop children's love for learning and creative nature and curiosity, and give them the foundation that they're going to need to be successful in K through 12.
Tell me, what are your programs really focused on? Reading or listening or behavioral traits? Tell me a little bit more about.
You've just about caught them all. The teachers of the 3 and 4 year olds have about 53 different standards that they are required to teach and get the children to master. And those are, you just mentioned some of the domains, in literacy, in math, in social skills, physical skills too, gross motor skills, fine motor skills, learning to control their body, and social emotional is critical. We really need to have the children able to play with each other nicely and listen and follow directions and get along with their peers and adults. So there's all those domains in early childhood that we're helping to support the teachers in doing that, because it's a tough job. They're not just teaching one subject area, they're teaching everything, and some of their children come in not having self-care skills and toileting, and those sorts of things are on top of everything else that we already mentioned.
Tell me, who are the teachers? Who are the mentors for these students, the ones that start them on their right track?
We have some fabulous, fabulous people in pre-K. It's so much fun doing professional development and visiting the centers. It's my favorite part of my job is actually going in and seeing all the great stuff that's going on. We have 18 classrooms in the St. Lucie Public Schools, and then we also are partners with 68 private partners. Head Start, all the Head Start centers work with us. We have some church-affiliated centers, and some are fairly large, and we even have a few family home centers where they have 6 or 7 children. So we've got a nice variety.
Who are those teachers? I mean, what kind of background do they come from? What kind of training do they have? What kind of certifications? How do you rule out the ones that don't have a love for the real young kids? I mean, every teacher that I've ever run into has a favorite group.
Right. For the most part, they rule themselves out. If you don't love working with the little kids, you don't stay very long, because it's not an easy task. And we've got a wide variety. Some have a certificate of early childhood completion that they can work with. We have bachelor's degree folks, we have master's degree folks. But primarily, we're going to talk about this a little bit later, one of our goals for this year is really teacher stability, because teachers, we know as a whole, don't make a ton of money, but in some of the early child care settings, they're working for $9-10 an hour, and benefits are tough because it's a business. The private providers have to make a living by running their centers, and there's a lot of expenses at that age. So we're really trying to see how can we talk with our legislature and work with the Children's Movement of Florida to try to get additional salary support for our pre-K teachers.
So the program, Early Childhood, is a countywide program that includes private schools and the public school system. I know you mentioned that there's 18 classrooms within the school district. Now, how does that all, does it come under one umbrella? Are they all working under separate umbrellas? What's the structure?
We have some separate umbrellas, but we're really working to make it one cohesive unit. We have, obviously, everybody that's in the St. Louis Public School District office and the teachers and really the whole St. Louis Public School family. We have the Early Learning Coalition and their resource specialists, a fabulous group of, I'm going to say gals, because just about everybody in early childhood is a gal, with the exception of Tony Loop, the director of the Early Learning Coalition. And then the Head Start and the directors and their teachers, and Myrna Rodriguez is their director, and Elisa Thornton is their education manager. They work very closely with us, too. We're working very diligently on taking the knowledge that people have who've used the curriculum. Let me back up. My position and coaches' positions that are going into the Head Start centers is funded by the partnership that we have with Houghton Mifflin Harcourt, which has been just a fabulous partnership. And because of those extra dollars that we had, we're able to take a lot of the expertise and the knowledge that we have in our public school sites and work with the Head Start centers and the private centers for what they already have going on and just help them tweak it and make it even more effective for all our kids. Because we'd like all children in St. Lucie County to have an even early childhood experience.
And that's great, because I think, if you get to a student early, I think, and you've sent me some articles, and many of our board members have sent me articles, that really does help the student in the long process. So we're kind of the umbrella as the school district in helping to make sure that everyone is on the same page.
Absolutely.
That's what I'm hearing.
Absolutely. And one of our goals, I mentioned the Houghton Mifflin Harcourt partnership, but we're going to have to identify additional partners for sustainability. There's a lot of needs if we really want to make this a community effort and support all the teachers and all the students. That's where the Education Foundation has been so wonderful and instrumental in helping us to start that. With the grant that you gave us to support the conference, the grants that we're getting this year now to be working on ongoing professional development for our teachers so that we can give them the materials and the tools and the strategies to take right back the next day and put into their classroom. So I thank you for that, because without you, we'd be a lot further behind than we are right now.
Well, I think that's important for the foundation and our board members to recognize that there are areas as students develop that need a little bit of extra, need a little bit of additional support, and those are the things that we're real pleased to be able to provide for not only the student success, but the success of the teachers that work with the students. Mm-hmm. You have a board here.
Isn't that beautiful?
And I seem to remember seeing this in your office a number of times. Maybe you could talk a little bit about the board, tell our viewers what everything is represented here.
Absolutely, and I can't take credit for how cute the board is. That goes to Cassie Dillard and to Cindy Parrish. They are two of our coaches, instructional specialists in pre-K, and they were both teachers in the VPK classroom, so they're taking their experience and working with the coaches, and their input has been just phenomenal. But last year we had our first early childhood conference. We had it at Fort Pierce Central High School, and we, through use of the Education Foundation grant, we were able to purchase high quality materials and books and develop sound lesson plans matched to the standards for the 4- and 5-year-olds for 3 different sessions that we presented at the conference. And one was learning how to use music and materials and manipulatives to do sequencing and comprehension. And then Cassie and Cindy did one on linking music to literacy. And sometimes you hear teaching pre-K is easy. All the kids just play all day, and all you're doing is having fun. Or I walk in there and they're playing music. And to which we say, most of the time, if you walk into a classroom and kids are engaged and having fun and singing to music and moving, more than likely that's a very highly effective classroom where they are meeting all those domains and standards. So we do realize that a lot of the classrooms are are stretched for funding of additional materials. So we were able to provide them with the books and CDs and the accompanying lesson plans. And we did some evaluation. We used the VPK assessment because we wanted to see if the children who were in the teachers' classrooms who attended these sessions, by the end of the year, did it have an impact? Were we meeting our benchmarks in phonological awareness and oral language and comprehension? And we had between 86 to 100, or 86 to 99% of the kids in those centers were exceeding expectations in those areas of phonological awareness, oral language, and comprehension. And then we told the teachers, be honest, let us know how we can improve on this. And we did teacher evaluations before and after the conference, because we also provided follow-up job-embedded coaching in their classrooms. Because we know sometimes a one-time professional development doesn't really do everything that they need. So we would go into the classrooms and actually help them work with their actual students, and then kind of get feedback on how's that going, and was it easy to implement in your classroom? Did it go nicely into your lesson plans? Was it addressing the standards? Those sorts of questions that we did with the survey. And it was overwhelming. The teachers said all of that and more. Their only suggestion was, can we have these every month? Can we really do this? And we had 180 participants, and we are going to have our second one in January, again, with the help of support and the financial support from the Education Foundation, because we're expecting it to get even bigger, and it's going to be about childhood discoveries this next year.
And as we lead into that, I've not seen the request yet. You and I have had a number of conversations.
Oh, you already approved it.
And please don't tell my board.
Sorry.
But tell me, what childhood discoveries, what is that going to focus on? What will the teachers, the instructors walk away with from that educational session?
Again, we'll focus on literacy because that's really critical. But there are two domains that in the 4- and 5-year-old domains, well, 3-year-old too, where they have to develop their cognitive knowledge, and that includes science, social studies, math. Are we creating problem solvers? What we don't want to be doing in pre-K is just rote A, B, C, D, 1, 2, 3. Are we giving the students that we're working with the tools they need to figure things out on their own, to explore, to be our scientists and our teachers and our leaders of tomorrow? So all the sessions that we're going to have, I think right now we've got about 20 different people lined up. Our science, a lot of them are coming, thank goodness I've got a fabulous group at the district office who are volunteering to do this for free, coming out and teaching, but we have wonderful math and science people at the district office who are going to be doing sessions. But then with the funding that we're going to hopefully get from the Education Foundation and some matching dollars from Walmart and some wonderful private donors that we have, we want them to be able to give them the materials to take back. So it's not just a lesson plan, it's not just here's the standard, but here, take it tomorrow or Monday and put in your centers or your small groups and be able to do it. And then we're also going to be showing them which standard that it is focusing on in the 4- and 5-year-old. And the other area that sometimes gets skipped is the approaches to learning. Are the kids persistent? Are they curious? And a lot of times at 3 and 4 and 5 years old, if it doesn't work right the first time, they get frustrated. And so it's teaching the kids how to accept that it's not always going to be perfect, but how do I continue to try until I get it? That's where the true learning takes place. And so a lot of our sessions are going to be really focusing on getting those kids to do different approaches to learning, to be creative, to be problem solvers, to be persistent.
And I heard a number of things that just clicked in my mind as this is the changing educational culture. You talked about science, you talked about technology, you talked about math, you talked about which are some of the STEM traits. You talked about having kids not necessarily know their ABCs, but how do you use them in real world situations, which has a lot to do. It sounds as though it's kind of aligned with Common Core.
Exactly.
And so this is really getting students ready for what their future will be for them.
Yeah. You said it perfectly. These are not Common Core standards that we're working with at 3 through 5, age 3 to 5, but they're Florida early learning developmental standards, and the Office of Early Learning is going to be doing the alignment of the pre-K standards to the kindergarten Common Core. And just in looking at it and doing some of that work on our own, they're very closely aligned.
Yeah. Well, I think it's important as students, as young adults, that they're able to figure out the problem as opposed to it's either a yes or a no, or 2 and 2 is 4, or it's not. And I think that those are, in my mind, some of the real important traits that students need to learn coming out of school. What else is going on with early learning?
So much. In addition just to the conference, we have monthly, we call them make and takes, that are aligned to the themes that they're doing in the classrooms. And again, we don't have the funds to pay teachers stipends. I wish we did. But we've opened it up where the teachers, when they come, they're going to get the materials, but they're also going to be making sure that they understand the standard. And I'm excited about this because we're working on making sure that we have age-appropriate or developmentally appropriate assessment in pre-K through 2. And when you think assessment, a lot of times you think, okay, multiple choice tests and those sorts of things, and that's changing with the Common Core as well. And it's so inappropriate to use a multiple choice test or a paper pencil test in pre-K, even up through grade 2 for the most part. The most effective way to see if a child can do something is to observe them and, have the example of what the work should look like at that grade level. And so our pre-K teachers are doing observational assessments and doing observational checklists and really doing a formative assessment piece that we're really going to try to strengthen this year because it's not easy. And at times it seems a little overwhelming because it's just another, at first they thought, oh, it's another thing I have to add to my day. But now it's great. The discussion after just using it for about a half a year last year is, wow, this really shows me which kids I need to regroup and do some additional teaching with. This tells me which kids have mastered these standards, and maybe I can do some enrichment with these kids and really help them focus on which standards do I still really need to focus on so that they can be ready for kindergarten.
Are the kindergarten teachers, when you said you had 18 classrooms, and I think that's over like 5 or 6 schools right now?
I think we have 11 schools.
11 schools that are participating in. So the kindergarten teachers are right there involved. And so how does this help or does it help in when they start kindergarten and first grade? Are they all on the same page? And how do you address that?
All the students on the same page?
Yeah.
They're not there yet. We still have, and we're never going to get there. I don't think where everybody's exactly the same, but we do want to close that achievement gap. As we talked about, we could have as much as a 4-year achievement gap by the time a child gets to kindergarten, and we are seeing that is lessening. We really want to do some additional work with our English language learners to make sure that those kids are getting some additional support so they can be successful, and talking a lot with Clarissa Duskin and her group of wonderful Cielo and everybody there about how can we use the expertise from our English language learner professionals in the school district to do some additional support with our pre-K folks. And they had a conference last year too, and they invited a lot of our private providers, and they're also doing sessions at our conferences. So it's wonderful to see that and they're not getting paid to do that extra, that's on their own time. Wonderful to see that everybody coming together to say, right now they're not technically our kids. They don't have a 5600 number, but in a year or 2 years, they're all our kids, and that's what we're really trying to focus on. But you made a great point, something that we really want to focus on next year. The data doesn't necessarily follow the child as well as it should. It would be ideal. I'm a pre-K student. I walk into your classroom. You're my kindergarten teacher. Here you've got our observational assessment. You've got my portfolio. You know what I'm working on. That would prevent the kindergarten teachers from having to do formative assessment during the first couple weeks of school to see where the kids are. So we're really going to make an effort to find a way to make sure that the assessment follows the child from grade to grade, or if the child moves from school to school within the school year, so that we don't have to do additional assessment, which takes away time from instruction.
Well, it's been a great conversation. I hope that our viewers see the importance of the early pre-K and moving the students' assessment. You and I have worked together for a little over a year and a half now. I'm getting a better understanding of what's needed for a student, and as I had my granddaughter heading into kindergarten, we talked about a lot of the things that you've shared with me over the last couple of months. We certainly wish you success.
Thank you.
We will be supporting the childhood discoveries on January, and I think you said that was 14th?
The 11th.
January 11th this year. And thank you so very much for coming in and sharing.
No, thank you, Jim. Greatly appreciate your support.
Okay, thank you.
Get on the Bus Florida is your local connection to help drive student achievement forward in our state. Mentor a student, donate needed supplies, support a teacher, sponsor a college scholarship. Citizens, civic groups, and businesses can all get involved. A few hours or a few dollars can help students and teachers in your community now. Make the connection to your local education foundation and learn more at getonthebusflorida.org. You can drive student achievement in your community. Getonthebusflorida.org.
Welcome back and to Foundation Focus. Wanted to bring you up to date on some of the things that are happening within the foundation in support of our students and teachers. First of all, our Adopt a Class launched a couple of weeks ago with the beginning of the new school season. To date, we've already had more adoptions than we have had since last year, the 6 months that we ran last year, and we're real proud to be able to do that and support the teachers in the classrooms. If you'd like to make a donation to your favorite teacher, your son, daughter, parent, you can do that through the Education Foundation website, which is listed just below. You can go on, it's automatic. The teachers receive the money. We cut checks every Wednesday. They have their money by the following Monday. So we have the Adopt a Class program in support of teachers and teachers' needs within the classroom. We launched just last week, again, our Working Together for Success grants. Those are our annual grant process that we provide opportunities for projects within a classroom, school, or a district-wide project. Many of those projects go on to become part of the future curriculum for a teacher or for the students. We really look forward to reviewing and seeing what the teachers have in their particular mind as to help and support and to provide learning and knowledge to our students. Those grants range from $1,200 to $5,000, depending on the particular project and the number of students that are affected. And have the opportunity to participate. We're very proud of two projects that have really taken off. One is our Welcome Center, and those are really an intervention program. Those are a matter of identifying students that may be at risk for not graduating high school or at risk for not passing to the next grade due to absenteeism or a low GPA. And teachers, guidance counselors, mentors work with those students. Last year, the folks that were in those programs reduced their attendance by 90%, increased their GPA average by a 0.8, so that program worked very well. Our first generation college, those in this community that have never been to college or no one in their family has ever been to college, we support a program that gives the students and the parents the opportunity to find out what college is all about, what's needed, their SAT scores, the ACT scores, how to apply for grants, how to pick a college, and then actually take them on visits so that they can see what it's like to live in a dorm, what it's like to be on a college campus. Talk to past graduates from St. Lucie County who are there as sophomores, juniors, and seniors, and find out what the experience is all about. We have worked on some projects that have to do with NASA as a partner. We have FP&L as a partner for last year. So we have a lot of diversity in our Working Together for Success grants. Want to mention that the deadline date is October 1st to apply for those grants. The funding will take place by November 1st. And then we will summarize all of the grant applications and the processes in May. So we'll have a good opportunity to be able to take the thoughts, the processes, and the programs that teachers want to bring to our students over a significant period of time. Also on our calendar this year is our annual Foundation Ball. That will be on September 28th. It's an evening of education. At that particular event, it is a fundraiser. We do have tickets. We would love to have additional folks there to learn more about some of our programs and help support our grant program, our scholarship program, and our employee recognition that the foundation does throughout the year. It's a Saturday. It starts at 6. You can find more information by, again, going to our website under our calendar of events. There's an opportunity to be a sponsor, and there's an opportunity there to purchase your tickets right online. Coming up again this year, later on in the year in February, will be our annual Night of the Stars. That will be the last Saturday in February, February 23rd. Again, we will recognize teachers in 4 different categories: our Teacher of the Year, our Outstanding First-Year Teacher, our Distinguished Minority Teacher, and the School-Related Employee of the Year. As you may remember, Eric Henning from Palm Point went on to the state competition last year as the School-Related Employee of the Year and was a finalist. So we're very proud of that event that will take place the last Saturday in February. For those of you who may have high school students graduating this year, we again have our Green Book, as it's called, which is mostly online right now. What I will say to you is that those scholarships requests will be due the Friday after spring break, probably the easiest way as opposed to a date. And then we will evaluate those, and we will have our awards ceremony again this year, the second Thursday in May, and award scholarships. We have put aside about $75,000 this year in support of those high school students who plan to continue their education at one of our local universities or colleges. It's a great opportunity to be involved. If you or an organization that you're involved in would like to become a part of our scholarship awards ceremonies and process, again, please give us a call at the foundation, and we'll be more than happy to get your group listed in our online book and be able to get the particulars out to all of the students. Last year in this district, students won over $18 million in scholarships to different universities. So, I mean, that's a great opportunity, and we're happy to participate and be involved in part of that process. Then again, in the spring, we will have our spring event sometime in late May, in between graduations and end of school. Look for those details a little bit later on. Again, this has been Foundation Focus and an update on our 2013 school year, and thank you so much for tuning in.